Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me in the live chat. I want to do my disclaimer about asking questions in the live chat very quickly here at the beginning because, of course, it's not just me on the stream this time. This is a very special episode. So, real quick, as usual, I'm going to be answering patron submitted questions first. So, if you are watching this live and you're with me in the live chat, please hold your questions until we turn our full attention to the live chat a little bit later, and then we will answer questions from everybody who is here with us live. And you may have noticed I said we this time. And that is because, as promised, I am being joined for this show by, it's not just me, it's the cast of Steve and Stuffy. So, first of all, I'll let you know everybody who's here. So, those of you who are in the live chat will be able to know who you can ask questions of later. So, first, we are joined by Stuffy. Hi, Stuffy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's really exciting. Yeah, it's exciting to have Stuffy here. Also joining us from his detective office at his Krav Maga dojo is the one and only Toby Benson. Hi, Toby Benson. What's up, baby? Let's get some questions going. All right, cool. And also joining us from, I believe, a different room in the same building. Is that correct, Jack? Hi, this is the room we have. We found this room upstairs just recently, so I've started taking it over. It's going to be my web chat room. Okay, well, we won't linger over the ramifications of that. Jack McPherson, of course, is with us. Also joining us, is, everybody's favorite. It's Millicent joining us from her office at the Husky Union Resource Trust in Hagerstown. Millicent, how are you this evening?
Greetings, humans. I am fantastic as usual.
Of course you are. Also joining us to zip back over to the other side of town from her office in the Stop and Shop / Toby Benson Investigations, baby. Actually, it's the next desk over from Toby Benson is Squirrel. How are you, Squirrel?
Hi, I'm good.
Good. Glad you could join us. Don't let Toby Benson talk over you now.
Oh, don't worry. I'll look after myself.
As you always do. Also joining us from her place is Wilhelmina. Hi, Wilhelmina.
Hi there. How are you?
Good. Good. Thanks for joining us. And finally, joining us, believe it or not, from his burrow and the broadband under the earth must be really nice because the reception is fantastic, is, of course, Prospector Jones. How are you, Prospector? Well, I'm real good. Yeah, we got internet down here. They just run the cable under the ground, so it's pretty good. I don't really know exactly how it works, but here we are. Okay, so that's everybody who is, and of course, me, myself, and I. So when we get to through all the questions and we turn to the live chat, you can ask a question of me or of any of the folks who are joining me in the stream. But right now, let's turn to some questions that were already submitted by my Patreon patrons. And the first question is from Ayame, who says, apologies if you've already answered this. Are you still planning to put your Atheist Read series on iTunes? Well, no apologies necessary, but yes, I have answered that already. And right now, the plan is to not do that. Right now, I have no intention of doing that at the moment. I've kind of moved on from the Atheist Read series, so no Atheist Reads audio podcasts for the near future. At some point in the unforeseen future, maybe I'll go back and do that. But right now, no, I'm not planning to do that. But thank you for the question. This next one is from Alex Weigel. Are you going to make a tribute video for Odo? The one you did for Nog was great. Well, thank you very much. And yes, unfortunately, Rene Auberjonois, the wonderful actor who played Odo and also played Clayton Endicott III on Benson, passed away just recently. And yes, I am going to do an Odo video. The schedule is like this. I did a DC Fontana video this week that just went up on Wednesday. Next week will be the Damar video that was regularly scheduled, that was voted on by my Patreon patrons. And then the week after that will be a special extra video about Odo that will be in tribute to Rene Auberjonois. So yes, there will be an Odo video. It will be week after next. So thank you for asking. Next question, and this one is one for for not just me but also our special guests here. So this is from Carlisle the Cinephile. Hello to the cast of Steve and Stuffy. A little while ago, I asked Steve what his Hogwarts house is, and Squirrel brought up what house she would want to be part of in the Halloween special. And I can't help but wonder what houses the rest of the Steve and Stuffy cast would be in. What are your guys' thoughts? Well, yeah, I think I mentioned at some point that I actually took the Pottermore test, and it said I was Gryffindor, but I'm not sure about the rest of you folks. So, Stuffy, we'll start with you. What do you know? What house you would be in, or what house you would want to be in? Well, I never took the Pottermore test, but I would like to be a Gryffindor. There seem to be the ones that are always in the middle of the action, and that's where I like to be, right in the middle of the action. Okay, that's yeah. Toby Benson, how about you? Do you have an opinion? What Harry Potter Hogwarts house you want to be in? I don't know. What's the one that they get to do all the evil shit? Slytherin? Yeah, give me that one. Okay. Jack? Oh, for fuck's sake, who cares? They're books for children. I don't give a shit what Harry Potter house are gonna be in. Good lord. Grow up. Okay. Jack making friends with our audience. Millicent, what about you? Do you have a preference for which Hogwarts house you would be in?
I do not concern myself with fictional human tripe. So no, I do not have an answer for that.
You don't have an answer. Okay, that's kind of what I figured. And Squirrel, you said in the Halloween show that you think people might think of you as a Hufflepuff, but you would actually prefer to be a Gryffindor. Is that still the case with you?
Yes, I think in my heart of hearts, I'm a Gryffindor. That's what I'd like to be anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I think you'd be a good Gryffindor. Wilhelmina, what about you? We never really talk about Harry Potter. Do you have an opinion on which house you would prefer to be in?
No, I don't really. I'd never have read the books, so I can't really say. I mean, I did look it up before, uh, before on the internet, and maybe I'd belong in Ravenclaw,
Oh, interesting.
but I don't know.
That's one. I never read the books either. I just saw the movies. And Ravenclaw, I guess maybe if you're like a huge Harry Potter nerd, you know more about it. But yeah, I Ravenclaw seems like the one that gets mentioned the least. So, but okay, I'll take your word for it that you're a Ravenclaw, or that you might be a Ravenclaw. And Prospector, how about you? Oh, I don't deal too much in witchcraft. Well, it's just a book, though. I mean, it's not like it's just books and movies and stuff. Yeah, it's all fun and games till it happens to you. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, then. Let's go to the next question. Thanks, everybody, for your answers there. The next one is from Francois Lacombe. Oh, this one is for Jack. What's the biggest fire you ever successfully pulled off? And what had they done to deserve your wrath? Jack, biggest fire you ever pulled off, and what did they do to deserve it? Well, I suppose that would be the whole town of Dargan, wouldn't it? There's a small town of Dargan just up the road from where you are at the moment, from where we live, and I burnt the entire town to the ground. Uh-huh. And what had they done? Refresh everybody's memory. What did the people of Dargan do to deserve having their entire town burned to the ground? Well, they refused to serve me at their local pub, didn't they? And they had it coming, and that's what they got. They burnt the whole place to the ground. Yeah, okay. I remember. I mean, but for anybody who doesn't remember or doesn't happen to know you, I burnt it to the ground. And then they built it all back up. So I guess we know we're going to have to take care of that at some point. Okay, cool. Thanks, Jack. Next question is from John Burns Burnsy. Hi, Steve. Because of the 7 deadly sins, do you believe that unless humanity changes, true communism can never exist? That's an interesting question. I don't know about the 7 deadly sins angle. I do think that maybe certain parts of human nature, or not even human nature, just certain expectations that we have been conditioned to have as a result of the kind of economy and the kind of society that we've grown up in, might make it challenging to sell communism to the American people because we've been so steeped in paranoia and fear of it, and we sort of instinctively associate it with things like the Soviet Union and failed states, and aren't really aware or willing to entertain the possibility of different systems that might fall within like a broadly communist framework. So I think it might be challenging to sell to people or to convince people that it might work or could theoretically work. I don't know what the seven deadly sins has to do with it, but maybe you could say human nature or the expectations that have been sort of set up culturally that would prejudice a lot of us against it. But as I've said before, as I say pretty much anytime anybody asks a question about leftist politics or communism or anything, like I am not an expert. I am not terribly well read on the subject. So take whatever I say for what it's worth. Next question is from Norman Bookwald. In honor of Rene Auberjonois, what are your favorite Odo moments and episodes in Star Trek? That's a good question. I'm gonna have to pick at least an episode for my Odo tribute video in a couple weeks, which I haven't written it yet. But I've been watching some Odo episodes in the last few days, and I really there's a great episode. It's probably the best Odo-centric episode of the whole show for my money, and it's called Things Past, and it's where Odo, along with Cisco and Garrick and Dax, are thrown. It appears that they are thrown back in time to when the Cardassians controlled Deep Space Nine, when it was Tarok Nor, and they become involved in a criminal case that has a mysterious and dark link to Odo's past. I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to spoil it, even though it's like a 25-year-old episode, just in case anybody's watching and hasn't gotten to that episode yet. But it's a really good episode and a real important episode for Odo's backstory and his character. And Rene Auberjonois does some amazing acting work in that episode. So that will be my favorite Odo episode. As for favorite Odo moment, maybe when he in Heart of Stone, when he breaks down and tells Kira, or who he thinks is Kira, how he feels about her, confesses that he loves her. That's a great moment too. A great moment for Odo and a great moment for Rene Auberjonois to show off his chops as an actor. So I would go with those. Next question. Stephen Sutton, first-time questioner here. What is the farthest you have ever been from home? I think Tallahassee, Florida, is the furthest I've ever been from home. Yeah. Next question is from Danny K. Hey, Steve, are there any major sports movies that you enjoy? I know you're a big baseball guy, and Major League is one of my favorites. Yeah, I really like The Natural. I think The Natural is probably my favorite sports movie. I mean, it's not really, it's a sports movie because it's about a baseball player, but there's, there are elements of it as well that are a little more spiritual or a little more fairy tale like. It's more of a fable, but I'd probably say The Natural. It's my favorite sports movie. Let's see. Next is a question from General Contact Unit Problem Child. The other day, me and my dad visited my uncle because he was burning a tree. He and my dad spent a lot of time reminiscing. My uncle got talking about his time in technical college in the 1960s. He told this weird anecdote about a black lecturer at the college and a prank the guys used to pull on him. My uncle and his mates would buy packs of these big round white mints, draw black faces on them, and put them back in the pack and then offer them to this lecturer. My uncle thought it was hilarious that they did this multiple times, and as far as they know, the guy never noticed he was eating candy with black faces drawn on them. When my uncle was saying all this, I was really confused for a second. Then I realized the implications of what he said. Oh shit, that's awful. My dad and my uncle laughed. My dad said something about me being from a different generation. I felt mad. I thought about saying something like, no, it's not just a generational thing and it's not fucking funny. You pulled a racist prank on a guy. Even if you didn't get why that was wrong then, you should now. For fuck's sake, you have mixed race grandkids. Would you talk that way in front of them? But I didn't. I think I didn't because I was afraid Dad would assume it was just me making a scene because of my poor social skills, because of my autism. If he intimated that to my uncle, it'd be embarrassing for me. Is it cowardly of me not to call out racism because I don't want to be embarrassed by people just reading it as me being weird because of my autism? Well, no, I don't think it's cowardly. I think, you probably have a legitimate concern there. And look, I mean, I do not have autism. I am, as far as I've ever experienced or ever known or been able to tell, I am totally neurotypical. And I mean, I've had experiences in my life where I was faced with racism and probably should have called it out at the time and didn't. I just like you do. I mean, I feel bad about that. I feel like I should have done more for it. Uh, I should have spoken out at the time, but I just use that as motivation to speak out the next time. You know, so no, I don't think you should be that hard on yourself. I think the fact that you're worried about it does you credit. I think the fact that you look back on that experience and you think, oh, I should have said something. I think that's to your credit. And I think as long as you have that awareness, then you're on the right track. And if there's some issue that makes you reluctant to speak out for the reasons you describe, I don't think there's anything necessarily to be ashamed of or to think you're a coward for that. No. Next question is from John Jenkins. Hi, Steve. What do you think about Dave Rubin recently coming out as religious? Do you think this will start a trend of other self-professed atheists who've spent whole careers speaking favorably of fundamentalist Christianity, making big deals about how they are no longer non-believers? I think what you meant to say there is speaking critically. But I think we'll have to wait and see how well it goes for Dave. If it becomes, a lucrative new racket for Dave Rubin, then yeah, I think we will see more people coming out saying, "Oh yes, I've discovered my faith." Yeah. I mean, I won't outright predict that, but it would not shock me. Like, it would not shock me at all. Because they're grifters. I mean, that's the thing about Dave. Dave Rubin is a grifter. He's putting on a performance. He's running a show. He's appealing to a particular audience in a very calculated way. And that's not to say that I don't think he really believes a lot of the things he says, because I wouldn't let him off the hook that way. And even if he doesn't believe them, he says them as though he believes them, and people in his audience accept that he believes them. So he's responsible for them, no matter what may or may not be deep down in his heart. But yeah, I mean, it's a grift. It's a con. And he's pivoting because he thinks that this will buy him a little more longevity or make him more secure in among the audience that he is courting. But yeah, would it surprise me if other people started doing it? No, not at all. Next question is from Isaiah Taylor. So, Steve, I'm an avid writer, and I love to put things on paper, and I'm highly detailed with my thoughts. Thus, I have 4 potential story miniseries that I'm planning to write. Here we go. The first one is Star Wars. To coincide with Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, I created my own fictitious Star Wars character named Devonte Smith. Devonte is a 25-year-old African-American male with autism who lives in a homeless shelter in the Tallahassee area. Hey, Tallahassee, I mentioned that earlier. He is lonely and down on his luck until one day he finds a Rebel Alliance escape pod lying in the mud of a nearby lake. A battle between a Rebel spaceship and an Imperial Star Destroyer in the Star Wars galaxy opens up a wormhole to our solar system, and the escape pod is cast to our planet. Curious, Devonte acquires the mysterious artifacts and learns the ways of the Jedi, difficult at first, and he uses the Force to fight crime. Yes, with a blue lightsaber. Soon after that, with the loss of a major element of the Force missing on some previously unknown planet, the Empire dispatches probe droids to Earth in an attempt to infiltrate human society, and the Rebel Alliance isn't far behind. Will a fleet of Star Destroyers and the Death Star appear in the skies above Earth? Wait and see. The next two scripts ideas are Star Trek based. One is titled Strange New Worlds, which deals with the lives of young Starfleet cadets and students who deal with adolescent issues while becoming functioning members of Starfleet. I want the show to reflect the still biological brains of teenagers who struggle with acceptance, social isolationism, status, popularity, and other things. The show is heavily in 80s retro futurism, due in part to the actual Star Trek movies in our time being made in the 80s, and is set in a more down to earth San Francisco with the Salesforce Tower removed and telephone lines and traffic lights that still exist. I want to create a show that has elements of 90210, Clueless, and Young and the Restless, with a Star Trek feel made for teens. It might be bonkers as rocks, but I think it's cool, don't you? Third is a Star Trek miniseries called Latrice, which tells the story of a female android named Latrice, created by an African scientist for Starfleet. The story involves Latrice trying to fit in more with human society, but slightly more socially groomed than Data. Finally, to coincide with the upcoming 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, I'm writing a screenplay/movie script about the event, simply titled September 11th, 2001. The movie starts out in 1991 with the first Gulf War and chronicles the cultural and political atmosphere of terrorism of the 90s, which leads up to the main events, the attacks themselves, and the immediate aftermath. I plan to make this film as an epic and hope to send it in as a script for a movie. The fact that I'm planning on putting in the work for it is interesting, and not many people would want to tackle such a task. Thoughts? Well, as far as that last one, I hope you have a story, because it reminds me of, there was an anecdote about one of my favorite filmmakers, Stanley Kubrick, who one of his long germinating dream projects that he never actually got to make was he wanted to make a movie about Napoleon. And I remember I forget which other, one of his fellow filmmakers and he were having a discussion at some point, maybe in the 80s or something, a while ago. And the person that Kubrick was talking to said, so, what are you working on now? And Kubrick said, well, I've always wanted to make a film about the life of Napoleon. And the person he was talking to said, oh, that's interesting. Which part of the life of Napoleon? And Kubrick said, all of it. So there's nothing wrong with ambition. But when you say, like, I'm going to tell the story of the 9/11 attacks and I'm going to start 10 years earlier with the Gulf War and tell the whole story in this epic movie, that's great. But there needs to be a story in the middle of that, especially if you're writing it and you're going to do it as like a narrative, like a dramatic film. You're not just making a documentary. Even making a documentary, I think it would be a challenge to take that much material and focus it, for a film or even for a limited series, because even, you can't just say, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. That's not a story. A documentary has to have a thesis. A story has to have a plot or a point to make somehow. And as long as you've got that, I say go for it. But you have to have that. You can't just say, well, I'm going to sit down and just start at 91 and write my way to 2001. Like, there has to be a story. And I mean, if you have that, great. Good luck. I mean, I think it's fantastic. And I love the ambition. And as for the Star Wars and the Star Trek premises, I like them all. I'm a little surprised. I guess it's a mark of how disciplined the controllers of the intellectual property have been, that they haven't tried to do a Star Wars, crossing into the quote unquote real world story. You know what I mean? Because there's something like they've never even teased that. Every Star Wars story has taken place in the Star Wars galaxy, and the notion of it crossing over into something resembling our world is just completely unheard of. But again, if you have a good story for it, then go for it. And the Star Trek stuff too. I like the idea of setting things a little bit closer to the ground, setting things on Earth, focusing on young people, showing how growing up on the Earth of Star Trek is probably still a lot like growing up in our world is. So I like all of those ideas, and thank you for sharing them with us. David Colby says, I can't think of any good questions. Last week, another questioner asked about She-Ra Season 4 and the character of Double Trouble, one of the first examples of non-binary rep in popular media. They complained that it's bad to have that rep be a creepy villain, which I take umbrage to on 3 levels. The first is that DT is delightful and charming, not creepy. Although they're not a villain, they're an amoral mercenary. They're not a villain, they're an amoral mercenary. Thank you very much. And the third is that whenever a fictional character does something evil, it's not real, which makes it a-okay to find things you like or even love about them. You touched on this with Garrick, and we'll soon touch on it with Damar, and I liked your video a lot. So, who are your favorite evil but redeemable characters? Since I know one will be in Star Trek, give me your favorite from Star Trek. It's Garrick. And your favorite from a non-Star Trek party. Yeah, I mean, Garrick is probably the best example from Star Trek because he's the one who gets the most development, and he's the one who I feel like he's consciously presented as that kind of character, as the evil but redeemable character. So I think, yeah, for Star Trek, I would go with Garrick, and for non-Star Trek, I don't know, maybe to take me back to the Batman comics of my youth, maybe Bane. Bane in the comic books, and I mean they flirt with this a little tiny bit with Bane in the movie The Dark Knight Rises, the Tom Hardy version of Bane. That there's a little bit more complexity to him, but in the comics it really comes across that Bane is a brutal villain and is capable of committing acts of real violence and brutality, but that there's also something weirdly honorable about him. And he's a person of great intelligence and great cunning and very formidable and admirable in certain ways, and then completely just horrifying and off-putting in other ways. So I would probably say 1990s, early 2000s, like comic book version of Bane might be my non-Star Trek choice. Here's one from Dr. Babylon. What are your thoughts on anarchism? I'm aware that at least one of your patrons, Some Angry Geek, I believe you're referring to Some Random Geek, is an anarchist, but I should make it clear that I myself am not an anarchist. Though I favor the redistribution of wealth, I am not interested in the abolition of private property. I regard social anarchism, including anarcho-syndicalism and anarcho-communism, as utopian, and I find it obnoxious when leftists try to defend the abolition of private property as a goal by redefining terms so that private property isn't the same thing as personal property. P.S. What progress have you made on If Footmen Tire You since last time? I don't want you to forget about this. Yeah, well, I appreciate the reminder. Not much progress since the last time we talked about it, so unfortunately that's still where it was before. But thank you for the reminder. As far as anarchism, yeah, I am not an anarchist either. And as I almost always say, as I said earlier when there was the question about communism, I defer to people who know more about it. I'm not an anarchist. I'm in that sense, I am a statist. Like, I believe there should be a government. I believe that the best way to go is to have governments that operate under principles of representative democracy. But I will say, again, based on my very limited understanding, I do think it's legitimate within anarcho-communist theory to draw a distinction between personal and private property. I don't think that's just a semantic difference to avoid criticism. Like, I do think that's a meaningful distinction, and that private property, as distinguished from personal property, is that is a useful concept. So I don't think it's just anarchists trying to dodge a criticism. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, Some Random Geek is an anarchist. Several of my other patrons or regular commenters are anarchists. And I think they're all really smart people, and I respect them a lot. And I look to them when I need to, like for advice or wisdom when it comes to politics and political theories that are further to the left than I am, or that are based on things that I haven't educated myself about. So I have a lot of admiration and respect for that. But no, personally, I am not an anarchist, and I don't think it's the best way to go. But I don't have anything particular against it. I'm not afraid of it, or I don't view anarchists as my enemies by any means. Now, the next question here is for Hans Krieger, and it reminded me, actually, Hans agreed to join us tonight, and I forgot to call him. So I'm going to call Hans, and I'll add him to the call here in just a moment. Then we'll ask the question for Hans. So to the question is from Ahoyerno. So Ahoyerno, I apologize for the delay, and I will have to apologize to Hans as well for neglecting to add him to the call. So okay, I'll have to create a new scene here. And okay, Hans, can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Okay, they can't see you yet. I'm gonna have to add you to the call. So just hang on a second. There you are. Hi, Hans. Yeah, hello. Greetings. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. It's okay. It's completely understandable since I am in a room in the same house as you. Yeah, okay. Hans is not even joining us from a remote location. He's actually home, and he's here. So anyway, Hans, the next question is for you, buddy. So listen up. They asked it in German, and I'll try my best to read it in German. And then I also went ahead and did a Google Translate so people who don't speak German can understand it as well. So this is for you, Hans, and the question is from Ahoyerno. And Ahoyerno says, für Hans, du bist österreichisch genau? Oder Deutsch? Ich kann dein Akzent nicht so ganz sehen. Dein Englisch ist aber richtig gut. Wie lange lebst du schon in die Vereinigten Staaten? I really butchered that. I apologize to you, Hans, and to all of our native German speakers. Anyway, in English, that says, for Hans, you are Austrian, right? Or German. I cannot place your accent too well. Your English is really good. How long have you been living in the United States? So, Hans, I turn it over to you. Yeah, Dankeschön for the question. I am originally from Munich, but I lived for many years in the city of Stuttgart, where I was active in the theater. I have lived in the United States for the last several years, and I have been enjoying myself very much. Thank you so much for the question, and I apologize for how difficult to place my accent is, apparently. Okay, thank you, Hans, and thank you, Ahoyerno, for the question. Next question is from Andrew C. Hawkins. This one is for Toby Benson. Do you feel that cultural acceptance of male bisexuality has gained on acceptance of female bisexuality over the past few decades? Also, how hot is Ollie Thorne on a scale of 1 to 10? Toby Benson, what do you say? Well, I don't know about the acceptance of male bisexuality versus female bisexuality. All I know is nobody has ever fucked with me about my sexuality. Of course, I guess people just know better. So, I feel pretty goddamn accepted myself. As for Ollie Thorne, I guess for a human, he's pretty hot. I don't really go for humans all that much. I believe I have said in the past that I don't really go in for bestiality. There's always exceptions, and maybe Ollie would be an exception if you caught me on the right day. But yeah, sure, scale of 1 to 10, I guess I'll give him an 8 or a 9. Why not? I'm feeling generous. Okay, thanks, Toby Benson. Next question is from Ask and Tell Project. And the question is, I am rewatching DS9. My first go-through was interrupted by my family moving to Germany. Any particular episodes I should pay attention to? Oh, well, sure. Hell yeah. Deep Space Nine, as I'm sure you know, is my favorite Star Trek show. So my favorite episode is The Visitor. I love that. I just mentioned earlier there's a great Odo episode, and I can't remember what season it is. Season 4 or 5 maybe, but it's called Things Past, which is a great Odo episode. Duet in season 1 is a great episode. Don't neglect the early seasons. I know a lot of fans, they tend to focus on the later seasons of the show after Worf shows up and when the storyline becomes much more focused on the Dominion War, and that's all great. I love those seasons of the show, but the early seasons have some really, really good stuff. So if you're starting over again and you're still in the early seasons, enjoy the first 2 or 3 seasons of the show, because some of my favorite Deep Space Nine episodes come from those early years. I think it was a really, really strong series from the very beginning. Next is a more of a comment from Haver Hojim for Isaiah Taylor. I like your idea about having a Sith Lord based on Donald Trump, only that he's so stupid he gets killed in a showdown with Jar Jar Binks where he falls on his own lightsaber. And that was not a question. That was just delightful. And I just wanted to share it with everybody. Just picture in your mind Donald Trump in a Star Wars movie dying because he falls on his own lightsaber. We'll all just have a nice warm feeling about that. Here's another one for Hans. I'm glad I got you on the call when I did, Hans. This is from Some Random Geek. For Hans Krieger, I'm a fan of your work. I know that you have an interest in the critiques of late capitalism. I wonder if you are familiar with the German philosophy of Max Stirner and his work. In particular, his book Der Einzig und sein Eigentum, or as it is often translated as the ego and his own. In that book, he has a critique of the education system, another system of oppression in our lives to make us good workers, unquestioning the late capitalist system. I like this quote: our whole education system is calculated to produce feelings in us, impart them to us, instead of leaving their production to ourselves, however they may turn out. Thus, stuffed with imparted feelings, we appear before the bar of majority and are pronounced of age. Our equipment consists of elevating feelings, lofty thoughts, inspiring maxims, eternal principles. Have you also thought about the role the education system plays into making us being unquestioning of authority, like the authority of one's boss or the authority of one's teacher or the police and the state? I will look forward to your answer. For Steve, I won't be in the live chat today because I'm still participating in the YouTube walkout, so the liberals, conservatives, and moderates in the live chat are free from me questioning their beliefs about capitalism and government. But that also means I won't be posting the charity links in the live chat itself, so I will just remind the audience of the charity links now that are down below in the description. Share them around on your social media and give if you can. Thank you very much, Steve, and Dankeschön, Hans. All right, Hans, what do you say? Are you familiar with the writer that SRG is talking about there? Regretfully, I do not think I have read that writer's work, but something that he says in his question resonates with me quite strongly. We must have no boss, as he says, no authority in our lives, but the truth. As an actor, this is of paramount importance. We do not express the emotions which we are assigned by a director or even a script, or especially by our fellow human beings. We express and feel the emotions that we feel ourselves authentically, for this is the actor's ultimate task, to feel and live as a character with authenticity and truth. Okay, thank you, Hans. I appreciate that. I admire your ability to turn everything into like an acting class. Well, I am an acting teacher, am I not? Yeah, that's what I hear. Next question is from Jin Hai. Question for Stuffy. Have you considered getting more protein and lifting weights to build your tiny arms so they are more in proportion with your giant head? You look like Brian Griffin fucked a Goomba from Super Mario Brothers. Stuffy, do you have anything to say in response to that question? Well, thank you very much for the question, and I will take your advice to heart. I don't know what else I can do. I just want to say I'm happy with my body. I like my arms the way they are. I don't think my head is that out of proportion. But I appreciate the advice. So thank you, Jin Hai. And I hope that my natural body is not that upsetting to you. And I never had any sort of sexual relations with a Goomba or with Brian Griffin. I just want to make that absolutely clear. All right, thanks, Stuffy. Let's see. Next question is from Len Kibblemom, who says, since you included the Steve and Stuffy cast in this Q&A, I was tempted to ask why last names seem to be restricted to male cast members, but I decided to go in a more philosophical direction. So my question for Mr. McPherson is, if a bear shits in the White House, then flushes 10 to 20 times, will the Republicans in the Senate notice the stink? Jack, any comment on that? Well, of course, they won't notice the stink, and it does stink. That's why I had to leave. If you'll recall, at one point early in this administration, I was actually a member of the Orange Nightmares administration. I accepted a post as the head of the ATF, from which I was fired when I announced that I was beginning an investigation into the Orange Nightmare himself. So they're all a bunch of corrupt fuckers. And of course, it doesn't matter how many times he flushes the toilet, it's always going to smell like shite, and they're never going to do anything about it, because they're a bunch of cowardly bastards, and to hell with all of them. All right. As far as the last name thing, though, maybe like the gals in the cast don't really mention their last names all that much, but I think everybody except I believe for you, Stuffy, has a last name, right? That's right. I only have one name. I'm like Cher. Right. But Millicent, your last name is London, right?
My full name is Millicent Jacqueline London.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Wilhelmina, you have a last name, right? We don't really talk about it, but
Yes. Wilhelmina Hopkins.
there you go. And actually, Squirrel, I'm just thinking, do we? I don't think we know your last name, do we? Have we ever mentioned your last name? You have a last name, right?
I do. I don't know if I ever mentioned it. It's, Rabbit, but like Eddie Rabbit with two T's.
Okay. Squirrel Rabbit. Well, like
Correct.
Eddie Rabbit. Do you want to share your middle name with us?
It's Alice. My middle initial is A.
So you're Squirrel A Rabbit.
Yeah, my parents were kind of concerned.
Oh, because they named you Squirrel?
Well, yeah, they didn't want me to, suffer any kind of humiliation.
Oh, I gotcha.
They wanted to clarify things.
That
So.
you were Squirrel A Rabbit.
Yeah, I kind of ruined the joke, didn't I?
No, it was fine. It was fine. Thank you. So there you go. So everybody except for Stuffy has a last name. So there you go. No gender bias here, at least as far as that particular issue goes. Next question is from Neo Normie. Yes, that's me in the corner building my religion. Well, I voted Labor in a tactical vote, but really politics doesn't matter. There has been reports of dead zones in the ocean, and within 50 years, natural oxygen production could come to an end. So really, what is the point in going on? What makes you positive? Oh, always with the cheerful questions. Is Neo Normie. So, well, I'll open this up to everybody else who's with me here too, because it might be interesting to get some different perspectives. What makes me positive personally is just getting up in the morning and going to work, and doing my thing, like making YouTube videos, writing, doing things like this. Curiosity about what's going to happen next. Granted, there's there are many reasons lately to not be so optimistic about the future, but I've always had this curiosity about wanting to see what happens next, and I have been very fortunate and very privileged that my life has not been so hard and so filled with suffering that I really have ever had a reason to not be interested in what's going to happen tomorrow. So I acknowledge the fact that I'm very privileged in that way. But yeah, let's ask some of the other folks. Well, Stuffy, like you work a lot in charity. What keeps you going? I think I just like helping people. Okay, that's of course. It's good. It's good. It's good that you like helping people. Well, it's not a bad thing. No, it's not. But it's like I figure you always give these saintly answers. It makes me a saint because I like to help people and it gives my life meaning. Okay, I guess not. No, you're right. It's good. It's good. I'm not trying to, I'll tell you what gives my life meaning, baby. What's that, Toby Benson? Making money. And also, just recently, in the last couple years, I discovered that it's a lot of fun to beat the shit out of Nazis and shit. Yeah, it is, I guess. I've never done that, but you've done that before, and yeah, you that gives your life meaning. Absolutely, baby. Okay, Jack, what keeps you going? Alcohol. All right, cool. Moving on. Millicent, what about you?
I'm so glad you asked.
What keeps you positive?
I like to contemplate Husko's grand plans for all of Huskianity.
And
That's what keeps me going.
and your faith in the Husky religion has not been shaken by your recent discovery that you're only half Husky? Or do you,
No.
okay.
I can't believe you would bring that up.
I'm sorry, but so you don't want to talk about it?
Ridiculous.
Okay. Well, okay. It's the Huskianity thing then. Squirrel. What about you? You're very low key, but you seem to have a pretty positive attitude. I mean, what keeps you positive?
Oh, well, I just like to enjoy the little things in life, like blueberries and little heads of lettuce, and
Ah,
I like to eat, so
you have a very sensual existence.
yes, you could say that. That's
Okay,
a very good way to put it.
there you go. Okay, cool. And what about you, Wilhelmina? What keeps you positive?
Uh, I don't really know. I guess I just keep existing.
You don't really have
And,
a choice, right?
I take one day at a time and enjoy my friends
There
and,
you go.
uh, sure, all of that. Yeah.
Okay. Prospector Jones, what about you? Well, I don't know how positive I am. I just don't want to die. Okay, and Hans, what about you? What what keeps you positive? What keeps me positive? Nothing. I am not positive about anything. I am not negative about anything either. I am an actor. I experience life as it comes, and I channel my emotions into the most productive use, which is through my performances. Okay. So even if you're not like actively working on a project, you're constantly like you're adding experiences to inform future performances. Yeah, that is it. My work, the life of an actor is what keeps me positive and keeps me going. Okay, cool. And we have one last question, and then we'll turn to the live chat. And this is from John Gingras, who says, "Hello, gang. I enjoy your escapades so very much. I'm in a more giving than asking mood this holiday season, so I'll ask, what is a good cause that I can make a donation to? And could I hear a classic Millicent if it's not too much trouble?" So I guess I'll start with the last one first. Millicent, first of all, I just want to I apologize for bringing up the thing about your parents. Okay, there you go. Was that for John or was that for me?
It's for everything.
Okay. So there you go, John. There was your classic Millicent home. Thank you, Millicent.
Unbelievable.
There you got one of those too. And as for the giving question, I think I'll throw that one to you, Stuffy, because actually I'll answer myself real quick. Personally, I give not always during the holidays, but like at certain points, most years, I donate to the Southern Poverty Law Center. I'm a member of the ACLU. I donate to Planned Parenthood. And I also donate to there are local like charities and shelters in my own area that I donate to as well. So, but Stuffy, you probably know more than I would. Well, actually, I think your last answer there was the best one. I would recommend if you're in a giving mood this holiday season, or you have some extra to spare and you want to give to charity, the best thing to do is probably to look up local charities in your area and support them. Of course, I am now the manager of a local homeless shelter right here in the Hagerstown area. And there are lots of other great shelters besides us as well for people who are in the Hagerstown area who want to support homeless shelters or charities that benefit the less fortunate. And I think you should find areas or charities in your own area and look to support those during the holidays if that's something that you're able to do and that you want to do. All right, cool. So here we go. We're going to turn now to the live chat. That was the last of the patron questions, and to everybody who is with us in the live chat, if you have questions for myself or for anybody on the show with me, which to remind everybody would be Stuffy, Toby Benson, Jack, Millicent, Squirrel, Wilhelmina, Prospector Jones, and Hans Krieger. Questions for any of us, all of us, please let's let them fly in the live chat. Here's one from Secular Scholar. A question for all the cast. So what do you think about Baby Yoda? Well, I think Baby Yoda is adorable. Stuffy, what do you think? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Baby Yoda is absolutely adorable. Toby Benson? Yeah, Baby Yoda's all right. Jack? What the fuck? I don't... Yeah, fine. Baby Yoda is fine. Okay, Millicent, any opinion on Baby Yoda?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a Star Wars thing.
Oh, well then. I really don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I don't want to know what you're talking about.
Squirrel, I was going to go to you. What about Baby Yoda?
Oh, I think Baby Yoda's adorable.
What about you, Wilhelmina?
Oh, he's really cute.
Prospector? Oh, yeah, I think he's all right looking. He reminds me a little bit of how my kids looked when they were just tiny little things. Okay, and Hans? Yeah, Baby Yoda is adorable. I can definitely see why Werner Herzog became so attached to him on the set. Yeah, me too. He's pretty cute. Okay. Let me see. Next, there's a question here from Mr. Radar who says, question for any of your guests who want to answer. Have you watched Star Trek? And if so, what is your favorite series? Well, Stuffy, you watch a lot of Star Trek with me, right? Oh, yeah, we've watched a lot of Star Trek. Yeah, I've been... Me and Steve have been best friends since he was very, very young. So I've watched pretty much all the Star Trek he has. And he's definitely a Deep Space Nine fan. And I like Deep Space Nine too, but I'm more of a Next Generation fan if I had to pick my favorite. Toby Benson, you're kind of a Star Trek nerd too. You're not as much as I am, but what's your favorite Star Trek show? Yeah, it's definitely Deep Space Nine, baby. It's definitely Deep Space Nine. I identify very strongly with the character of Quark for some reason. Jack, how about you? Your favorite Star Trek show? I don't know, just whatever's on. Millicent, I hesitate to ask. Do you have a favorite? Have you ever watched Star Trek? And if so, what is your favorite?
It was probably on in the background at some point, but I can't say I ever formed an attachment or paid any attention to it. So no, I cannot answer that question.
Is Star Trek something that humans stole from Huskies?
Probably.
But you don't know for sure.
It's human nature to be a kleptomaniac.
Yeah. Well, on behalf of all humanity, I do apologize. Squirrel. Are you a Star Trek fan?
Oh, yeah. I like Deep Space Nine.
A lot of Deep Space Nine fans. I like that. Wilhelmina, any opinions on Star Trek?
I kind of like The Next Generation.
Okay, cool.
I find it very cozy to watch.
Yeah, it is. It's like curling up in front of a warm fireplace, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Prospector. Oh, I like the original series. Of course, I remember when it was on. When it was originally being made, and I would watch it every week when it came on NBC. So yeah, I remember. I watched it way back from the beginning. Okay, cool. And Hans. Yeah, of course. What can the answer be except for Deep Space Nine, the most angst-ridden series in all of the Star Trek franchise? Okay, yeah, cool. I auditioned for a role in Deep Space Nine. You did? Really? What role did you audition for, Hans? Yeah, I auditioned for the roles of Sisko and Odo and Bashir and O'Brien. Wait a minute, you auditioned for O'Brien even though Colomini was already cast in that role? Yeah, I could have done a much better job than he did. Okay, cool. Here's one from A Trance. What's your opinion of the UK general election results? Do you think they were rigged? Either that, or are the electorate in the UK just stupid? I couldn't see the Tories getting an 80-seat majority. Yeah, I mean, I'm an American, but watching the results from here, from this side of the Atlantic, it's just incredibly depressing. I haven't heard anything about that would make me think that they were rigged. I think it's just a lot of people who voted who made a very, very poor decision. The same reason why Trump and the Republican Party have won elections here in the United States. I don't think we have to say, oh no, it was rigged. It's just a lot of people who are ignorant or guided by their prejudices and made a really, really terrible decision. Let me scroll through the live chat here and find some more questions. Here's one from John Burns. Tomorrow I'm going to a fundraiser for the local mustard seed. So it's a poker tournament. Also, I'm adding extra money for those who are hosting this to make a survival kit. Good? Yeah, sure. Good. Oh, Francois Lacombe, have you been watching Crisis on Infinite Earths? Yes! Yes, I have, and I have loved it. I'm very, very eager to see how it turns out after the holidays. They did the first 3 episodes this week, and then the conclusion will be after Christmas, after New Year's. And yeah, I've really, really loved Crisis so far. Absolutely. Here's one from Andrew Michael. Hi, Steve. Would you ever consider doing a fist pump 5 to complement your face palm? Facepalm is great, but it makes me want to kill myself. There's such horrible things happening in government. Yeah, eventually, I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, and I'll reiterate it because it's coming up in another couple of months. But after episode 100, Facepalm 5 is going to transition from a pre-recorded show into a live stream. I'm going to just do a Facepalm 5 live stream every other week instead of doing an edited pre-recorded video. But it's basically going to remain the same sort of thing. I'll just do it live. And I've been toying with the idea of adding, maybe like a good news segment to it. So it wouldn't be a fist pump 5, but it would be maybe some good news to counterbalance the bad news. Daryl Lett says, Steve, you mentioned in the past that despite being a vegetarian, you still eat cheese, but I forget what kind you said was your favorite. Mine is Colby Jack. An 8-ounce block lasts me 2 servings. My favorite is Swiss cheese. I love Swiss cheese. It's almost the only cheese that I ever eat. Mr. Radar, Prospector Mr. Radar guessed that your favorite Star Trek would be TOS. What do you think of that? Well, it's a natural thing to guess. I mean, I am pretty old. Of course, I would prefer classic Star Trek over these newfangled spin-offs. Yeah, that's a good point. Someone asked... the chat scrolled up on me and I missed it, but it's from A Trance. Will you be doing a video on Odo at some point? Yes, I mentioned it earlier. I guess you missed it. In 2 weeks, there will be a Trek Actually video about Odo. Yeah. Toby Benson, Daryl Letts here in the live chat says that he always gets a kick out of Toby Benson. Oh yeah. Well, if he owes me some money, he might get a kick out of me in a different way. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you don't have to threaten. You don't have to threaten the people in the chat. They like you. He's a fan of yours. Yeah, okay. Well, then he knows what the deal is. As long as he plays straight with me, he don't have to worry about catching a kick from me. Okay, cool. Oh, he meant the show Benson, Toby Benson, not you. He meant the show Benson. Oh, well, never mind. Okay. Oh, hey, here's one from Jason, Opinionville. He says, oh, good, Steve. Glad I caught you. I have a wedding on Sunday. Can we record on Saturday? You mean like tomorrow? Like you want to record tomorrow? Yeah, sure. I'll just change my whole plans for tonight. I'm glad you got a hold of me. Yeah, I know you hate Facebook. Yeah, I guess that'll probably work. I'll have to confirm, but yeah, that'll probably be okay. Edjo says, "Hey Steve, how do you feel about the new Picard series?" Excited, very excited. Really looking forward to it. Actually, really looking forward to it. Yeah, 255 AD. Oh, actually, no. I got a super chat from John Burns. Hold on a second. I'm glad some random geek got his dono inf. Why I'm sending this. Also, you saw my information about Clarion. I thought a writer would like seeing it. Yes, I saw your comment about Clarion. I cut that out of the question, but yes, I read your whole comment, and yeah, that was really cool, and I'm glad you shared that with me, and thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. 255 AD says, "Can I be a mod?" I think we have enough mods at the moment, but I mean, maybe at some point in the future, sure. Wait till the chat jumps on me sometimes. Okay, Dana has a question for Hans. You said you auditioned for many of the roles for DS9. Who do you think gives the best performance and why? Yeah, but even though I said that I could do a better job than he, I must admit that Colomini does a good job playing the character of O'Brien because he is able to communicate the amount of suffering that O'Brien experiences throughout the run of the series quite convincingly. I also enjoy Sirach Lofton as Jake. Oh, how about that? Did you audition for Jake as well? Yeah, of course I auditioned for Jake. Okay, there you go. So I guess O'Brien. Oh, Secular Scholar says, how funny do you think it is that the Trump campaign the Trump campaign itself compared him to Thanos? Yeah, they're the most hopeless people in the world, aren't they? Like, yeah, the Trump campaign tweeted a screen grab of Trump as Thanos, and as a lot of people have pointed out, it was from the end of the movie, right before Thanos loses, because they wanted Thanos saying, "I am inevitable." Right? But they take it out of context, and I guess we're not supposed to know that right after Thanos says, "I am inevitable," he loses. So, yes, may it come to pass, Trump campaign. May it come to pass. Joe Thunder says, do you think Trump will get impeached? What are the odds? 50-50? Oh, I think he will definitely get impeached, but I don't think he will be removed from office because once impeachment is passed, it goes to the Senate for the trial, and the Senate is controlled by Republicans, and the Republicans have made it quite clear they have absolutely no interest in taking this process seriously or removing Trump from office. So I think he will definitely be impeached, but I don't think he will be removed. Braden Goss, thoughts on the Matt Reeves Batman movie? I don't know anything more about it than anybody else does. I am super, super intrigued by the casting, and I will probably, unless the first trailers come out and it looks absolutely awful, I'll probably see it in the theater. I will lift my self-imposed boycott of the DCEU to see it, because it does. I mean, like I say, the casting sounds really intriguing. So yeah. Yes, Jay. No, you weren't interrupting anything, Jason. I'm just doing my show. 255 AD says, question, ever since the Tories won, I felt depressed and slightly sick. Do you remember how you felt the day after Trump won? Yeah, incredibly depressed and slightly sick. Yeah. And very, very worried because I was getting text messages and like direct messages on Facebook and Twitter from friends of mine who were legitimately scared, who were like crying and were not sure if they were going to make it through the next 4 years. And I know there are a lot of people in the UK who feel the same way, who are just absolutely crushed and scared about what's going to happen to them. So yeah, I have a little bit of an idea how that feels. IO0011, do you think you would ever do a video on other sci-fi shows like Babylon 5 or Battlestar? Yeah, I'm sure I will at some point. Yeah, I don't have any plans right now. I don't have anything on the schedule, but yeah, sure. Seal 0626, when the Ensigns got stuck in the past, wouldn't Barclay's Vulcan DNA have been reasserting itself without his medication? Did he go through a hilarious selection of hats? Actually, I think Barclay... no, that's right. He does have to take he has to take the gene suppressors, doesn't he? Well, he probably loaded up on them. He probably just took extra. That's how you resolve that. That's not a plot hole. It's just something you didn't know about. Oh, here's another super chat. Thank you, John Burns. Says, you might not be aware of this, but the recent Canadian election ended with the Conservatives garnering more votes than the Liberals. A minority Liberal outcome couldn't save the Tory leader's job. Tory leader's job who resigned. I was aware of the Canadian election result. Yeah. It's very disheartening. It's very disheartening to see right-wingers making such gains in elections all over the world. Yeah. Thank you very much for the super chat. Edjo says a German O'Brien just wouldn't work. Yeah, I guess it kind of goes with the name, doesn't it? Andrew Michael says, what other sci-fi would you love to cross over with Trek, and how bad would Star Wars get owned? Well, I mean, yeah, Star Trek, Star Wars would be the crossover. And personally, I think that, a half decent Star Trek ship would knock the shit out of a great Star Wars ship, because I just think the levels of technology are different. Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica reboot would be interesting, because I think they have a lot in common, even though Battlestar is tonally a lot more severe and a lot more serious. But that could be interesting. Oh, here's one for you, Millicent, from 255 AD. It says, question for Millicent. Why do your liberal friends put up with your Husky supremacy? Millicent, why do we put up with your Husky supremacy?
Because they know I'm right.
Do you really think that's it?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, there you go. Because we know she's right. That's why we put up with it. So there you go. It's not really supremacy, though, is it, Millicent? It's like pride, right? It's like Husky pride.
Sure, yes. Okay. It's pride.
Okay.
I mean, can I help it that I'm superior? And not just me, but all Huskies.
Sure.
Are pure of heart.
Yeah.
We're highly intelligent.
And
I mean,
quite a society you've got there, too, huh?
Yes, Steve. It's quite a society we have here.
Okay. So, yeah, that's, there you go. Because we know she's right. So that's why. Aid Trance, do you see working class Republican voters as a bit like turkeys voting for Christmas? Yeah, I think that's a very good analogy. Michael Olson says, do you think McConnell is serious about a 2-week trial with 0 witnesses? I mean, I would not discount the possibility. I think, look, McConnell, the only person in the federal government right now who is as shamelessly corrupt or more so than Donald Trump is Mitch McConnell. Like, McConnell is making absolutely no bones about where his loyalties lie or what kind of show he is running. So when McConnell says that they are going to do like basically a show trial with a foregone conclusion, I accept that he is willing to do that. Are you really? I mean, what is Mitch McConnell going to suddenly discover that he has a bunch of integrity? No, I think so. Let me see. There was Phoenix Espresso. Have you learned anything new about the controversy surrounding Lance Gregorchuk and now John Richards as well since 2 weeks ago? No, I have learned absolutely nothing more about that. So sorry. Secular Scholar, what is everybody's favorite 80s cartoon? Well, I think everybody would probably know mine. Mine is He-Man. So we'll go around the horn here. Stuffy, do you have a favorite 80s cartoon? Well, I like Transformers. That was fun. Okay, cool. Toby Benson, G.I. Joe, baby. Obviously, yeah. Jack, what the fuck? I don't have I'm an adult. I don't have a favorite 80s cartoon. I watched cartoons when I was a child, and now I don't watch cartoons anymore. What are you laughing at over there? I don't watch cartoons anymore. I'm a bloody grown-up. For fuck's sake. Okay, Millicent.
I have to say I agree with the bear on this one.
You don't have a favorite cartoon?
No, okay. I didn't really indulge in cartoons.
Okay. Squirrel, did you have a favorite cartoon growing up?
I probably did, but I can't remember it right now.
Wilhelmina, I assume you can't remember one either?
That would be correct.
Okay. Prospector, did you have a favorite cartoon growing up? Well, I always really liked Steamboat Willie. Okay, and Hans, did you have a favorite cartoon? I did not watch cartoons growing up. I studied the craft. Okay, I kind of figured. Let me see here. And Phoenix Espresso. No, I don't have any new opinions on the Essence of Thought and Rachel Oates thing either. I honestly haven't been paying attention. I know that EOT made a video about it, but I didn't watch it, and I just haven't been paying attention. So I apologize for that. Jason Opinionville says, so Hulk from Ang Lee's Hulk and Skeletor star in a buddy comedy. What is the plot? Okay. So Ang Lee's Hulk and Skeletor star in a buddy comedy. What is the plot? Skeletor is banished from Eternia, finally, for his crimes, and he ends up on Earth in San Francisco, and he and Bruce Banner buy an antique shop together, and they run the antique shop. And whenever someone comes in and wants to buy one of their antiques and they try to lowball them on the price, Bruce gets really mad and he turns into the Hulk. And that happens every week until they cancel the show. Okay, and by the way, for the question about Barkley and his gene suppressors, Jason has answered that Barkley always carries the suppressors like somebody with allergies carries an EpiPen. So there you go, problem solved. It's there you go. Red Spiral Ray says, Steve, do you know if there's a mirror version of Khan that's been explored in any of the mediums? I don't think so. There may have been a mirror Khan in one of the comics or the novels, but if there is, I'm not aware of it. And I know there certainly has never been a mirror universe version of Khan depicted in any of the shows or movies. Seal0626 says, I wanted to say that your Dawkins accent was flawless. Thank you. I appreciate it. Obviously I enjoyed speaking in it because those bits lasted forever. 255 AD. This is okay. Millicent, 255 AD is treading on dangerous ground here. They ask, they say, Millicent, but you're not pure.
Oh, well, I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, so someone else.
You know what?
Go ahead.
I do not know how to politely respond to human rudeness.
I'm sympathetic. I'm sure it must be difficult for you. It's like a big life change, like.
And I am pure. The husky parts of me are pure.
Okay, well, there you go. Trans Gamer Girl also asked, she says purebred husky. Wasn't she recently found out to be half Malamute? But, you're husky enough.
Everybody has an opinion, don't they?
I get. Okay, I guess so. And you know what? Actually, Millicent, I seem to recall when you answered that question earlier, you did say that Huskies were pure and pure of heart. So you weren't necessarily claiming that you yourself are pure or are a pure breed, because now we know that you're not.
Correct.
There you go.
I have not explored my Malamute ancestry, so I cannot say. But I have explored my husky heritage at length, and I can tell you right now, it is pure, it is perfect, it is great.
Okay, there you go. 255 AD said something else here, which is question for Toby. Why do you put up with Millicent's racism? Toby Benson, why do you put up with Millicent's racism, according to this question? Well, I don't think... Yeah, I heard that. I don't think Millicent is racist, baby. She's just proud of who she is and shit. She's proud of where she comes from. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, yeah, she gets a little bossy about it, gets a little, up her own ass about it every once in a while.
But, unbelievable.
Well, come on, it's true, baby.
Well, pride is nothing to be ashamed of.
I don't think so either. I'm proud of being a German
By definition.
I ain't ashamed of being a German Shepherd either, but sometimes I know when to give it a rest, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well there you go. So Toby Benson would not say that Millicent is racist. Yes, Varjack, you're late. But not as late as I am getting to your question, so take some solace in that. John Burns says, Steve, I was curious how surreal such an event of his team winning after 108 years of not winning. John mentioned. I don't even know what that's in reference to. Okay, Dana has another question for you, Hans. What do you think of the claim that cartoons and animation actually create a higher challenge for an actor due to the need to rely solely on their voice? What do you say to that, Hans? Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom in this. When you limit your instrument, it requires a much greater degree of skill and dedication. Anyone who has actually seen me act on the stage knows that my body is a vital instrument in my performance. And if I were unable to use my physicality to imbue a character with life, if I were able to only use my voice, I cannot imagine such a thing. But I, of course, have done a small amount of voice acting, and it is quite a challenge. I am a master of voice acting, as I am all forms of acting. But it is a great challenge. Yes, you are correct. You have great insight into the subject. I suspect perhaps you are an actor yourself. There's a question. Oh, here's another super chat from John Burns. Yes, you hoped for so long, and then they win, and you think nothing can affect your happiness, and then a few days later, Donald Trump was voted president of the United States. Okay, so that's what that was in reference to. And thank you for the super chat again. Let me see here. Trans Gamer Girl says half the cast are corpsing. I love it. I don't know what that's in reference to. Red Spiral Ray, no, I have not read the X-Men Next Gen crossover book. At least I don't think I have. Here's another one from 255 AD. I keep looking at strangers in the street and thinking, were you one of the people that fucked us over? Did you find yourself doing that after Trump was elected? Yeah, a little bit, sort of. I mean, not obsessively, not like all the time, but yeah, it's more like with me. It's more like because I live in a very conservative area, so it's more like just sort of knowing that pretty much everybody, most of my neighbors are Trump supporters. So it's more that. It's not looking at people on the street and going, I wonder if they were one of the people. It's looking at other people on the street and going, yeah, they were definitely, they were definitely some of the people. Jason Opinionville points out that there is a non-canon mirror universe con in the TNG novella, The Worst of Both Worlds. So there you go. Oh, 255 AD, you meant the question, the Toby question for Stuffy. You mean about Millicent's supposed racism. I don't know. Stuffy, what do you make of Millicent's sense of Husky superiority? Well, I would agree with Toby Benson. I don't think it's like racism. I think she is very proud of who she is in her society. Maybe it comes across as a little too chauvinistic sometimes, but I don't think I would never call Millicent a racist. Well, okay.
Thank you, Stuffy.
Well, I mean, if I thought she was that bad, I wouldn't work for her. And now that I work for the Husky Union Resource Trust, Millicent is sort of my superior. And if I didn't think she was a good person underneath it all, I don't think I could work with her, let alone be her friend. Okay, Millicent, any response to that?
No, as usual, Stuffy is a voice of reason in a pool of idiots. Thank you, Stuffy.
Thank you, Millicent. You're very welcome, Millicent. Okay, here's another super chat from John Burns. I understand how it's no one's business but those involved, but how do you respond, Steve, when you hear once again about some sex scandal about the characters in your show? Has there been a sex scandal about characters in the show? I don't recall a sex scandal among the Steve and Stuffy characters. This is news to me. But yeah, I guess it's nobody's business but their own. But I don't even know what you're talking about there. A Trant says, how much does it cost to properly set up a YouTube account and get all the relevant equipment? Well, I mean, I would, if you want to really start yourself off, as well as possible, I would try to set aside at least a couple of $100 for a decent webcam and a good microphone to get started. If you're planning on being on camera yourself, so set aside. I would say a couple of $100 to get a good webcam, a good microphone, and lighting as well, because lighting is very important. I mean, you can do it for nothing. Like, you can get a webcam for cheap, and you can just use the built-in microphone or get a cheap microphone. Like, if you just want to get the basic equipment to make videos and put them on YouTube, it doesn't have to cost that much. But if you're serious about it, and you want to do as good of a job as you can, then I would plan on trying to budget for a couple of $100 to start at least. And I mean, I don't even know how much I've spent over the years. I've spent way more than that. I've spent thousands over the years on my YouTube channel for equipment and software and all kinds of other stuff. Not to mention the amount of labor that goes into it. But for starters, I mean, to get a decent start with a good camera and mic and lights, I would say a couple $100 you should count on. Oh, here's a provocative question from Dana. For the whole cast, what's the difference between racial pride and racism? Stuffy, what do you think? You kind of came to Millicent's defense there. Well, I think there's a difference between racial pride and racism. If you think that your race makes you superior to others, maybe that's a good distinction to draw. You can be proud of who you are in terms of your heritage, but if you think that people of different heritages are inherently inferior, then that might be a problem. Okay, well, let me turn to Millicent then. Okay, what about what Stuffy just said? Is that what? I mean, you've said some things about Huskies in the past that have been kind of right on the line there.
Well, perhaps it comes across that way, but honestly, I find the question disingenuous. I've always been a proud Husky, and I will not be baited into admitting that I'm speciest or breedist or what have you.
Okay, good. Jack, I haven't heard from you lately. Any opinions on the difference between racial pride and racism? Aye, racial pride is being proud of your race, and racism is being a bloody racist. Okay. I'm not sure if that's exactly what the question was going for, but Oi, you asked and I answered the bloody question. Now leave me alone. Okay. Let's go to Prospector. How about you? Any opinion? You're the oldest of us. You lived through the civil rights movement. Oh yeah, I sure did. Well, any thoughts on the difference between racial pride and racism? Well, I think Stuffy pretty much said it all. It's, you think you're better than other people, then that's no good. If you're proud of who you are, but you don't think it makes you any better than anybody, I ain't got a problem with that. We must not leave this subject without touching on the question of racial privilege. It is much different to be proud of being a white person than it is to be proud of being a person of color, or someone who is from a disadvantaged background or group. Now that's a good point. Maybe yeah. Like white pride is very different than like black pride or Hispanic pride. Yeah, what were you going to say?
May I say something,
yes,
please?
Millicent, please.
Humans have kept Huskies under their boot for generations. We were here first, and everything was taken from us. Humans stole all of our good ideas, all of our inventions, all of our fictional narrative style, and everything that you think is so great about all of your human contraptions or whatnot, and they were stolen from the Huskies. And yet I am the disadvantage. I mean, how many Huskies are in the world are compared to humans? I ask you.
That's a good point.
How many Huskies are out there right now, sitting and staying and obeying their human masters?
I see.
I ask you.
That's a good point. We don't really think about that, but yeah, I guess from your perspective...
you wouldn't, would you? Because you're human.
Okay.
And therefore very flawed.
Point taken.
I hope so.
As always. Here's a question from Red Spiral Ray. Steve, what camera do you use for recording? I've been thinking of doing opinion vids myself. Well, for my usual videos, I the last couple years I've used a Canon 70D. But for videos like this, for live streaming, I use just a Logitech webcam. It's I would have to actually look up and see what the actual model number. It's the C920, the Logitech C920 webcam. That's what I use for live streaming. But for my actual proper edited videos, it's the Canon 70D. John Forch says, just watched Discovery and loved it, especially season 1. Do you know any backstory on why season 2 seemed to take a turn to the conventional and retconned hard to align better with 90s Trek? No, I don't know of any particular reason behind that. They didn't really. I mean, I think they that whatever course correction they did for season 2 was to the show's benefit. I mean, I think the changes they made as compared to season 1 were all good choices. Like, I like the fact that there was a mystery at the center of season 2 instead of a war. I like the fact that the show had a little bit more of a hopeful tone, that they hit, the idea of people joining Starfleet because they want to explore, because they want to do the right thing. I liked having Captain Pike as the captain, being sort of this paragon, this prototypical, like, ideal Starfleet captain. I think all of the changes they made were for the better. I think maybe a lot of people thought that the show was too dark in season 1, or that it was too hopeless, or that it was too focused on war and conflict as opposed to how other Star Trek shows have been. So, I mean, I think the adjustments they made were good and to the show's benefit. But as for, is there any particular reason or any backstory as to why? I don't really know. 255 AD. This is question for German Shepherd guy, but I believe it's for you, Hans. There are actually 2 German Shepherds. Toby Benson and Hans Krieger are both German Shepherds. But Hans, I think this one is for you. Suppose you were asked to do voice acting for a show where the cast were stuffed animals that never move. Oh, this is preposterous. I would never entertain such an audition. It would be beneath my dignity as an actor to even consider taking such a role. What a silly question. Okay, there you go. Here's another one from 255 AD, just rolling out the questions. 255 AD is a question for you, Jack. What does it say on your shirt? What does it say on my shirt? Oh, you can't see what it says on my shirt because it's obscured by my jacket being closed. But if you look closely, what it actually says on my shirt is mind your own fucking business. Wow. Okay, there you go. Jack, you're okay participating in the show, right? Hi, of course, I'm having a lovely time. Okay. Trans Gamer Girl says, praise Son of Husco. So, Millicent, I guess you would appreciate that.
Yes, bless you.
There you go. Wow. A blessing from Millicent. Here's another super chat from John Burns. Thank you once again for your generosity, my friend. It says, racial pride versus racism. Your D&D adventure, there's humans and dwarves, elves, gnomes, etc., who are compared favorably to said humans versus your adventure. A world including a trillion humans and a dwarf, an elf, a gnome. Okay, does that mean something to anybody else? I don't even... I know the definitions of the words. Here's one from Carlisle the Cinephile for the whole cast. Can you wish my girlfriend Victoria a happy birthday? It's next Wednesday. Well, sure. Happy birthday, Victoria, from me. Stuffy, what do you say? Oh, yes, absolutely. I'd be happy to. Happy birthday, Victoria. Toby Benson? Yeah, happy birthday, Victoria, baby. Have a good birthday. I hesitate to ask, but Jack? Hi, happy birthday. What was her name? Victoria. Happy birthday, Victoria. Was that pleasant enough? I guess so, yeah. Millicent, would you like to wish Victoria a happy birthday?
Happy birthday, Victoria. You're lucky enough to share a name with my twin sister.
There you go. Squirrel, would you like to wish happy birthday to Victoria?
Happy birthday, Victoria.
Wilhelmina?
Happy birthday, Victoria.
Prospector? Well, yeah, sure. Happy birthday, Victoria. And Hans Krieger. Yeah, have the happiest of birthdays that is possible under the circumstances, Victoria. Okay, cool. Thanks, Hans. Chipper as always. Opinionville, Jason says, when I look up husky in the dictionary, it says it's an adjective for a low-pitched voice or an overweight guy or a size of clothes for heavy children. When will these definitions be eliminated? Millicent, I'm sure you have an opinion on this. What do you feel about the misappropriation of the word husky to mean all of these different things?
Well, I can't say it's surprising considering humans and their inanity.
Yeah, I guess.
Their terminal inanity, I might add.
Terminal inanity. Millicent, while I've got the camera on you, there's another question for you here, again from 255 AD. Really raking you over the coals here.
Oh,
How do you react when paleontologists say that huskies were created by humans selectively breeding wolves? That
oh,
is, humans were actually here first.
I would say that is a human lie.
Right, because huskies
It
believe
is a
that
conspiracy theory perpetrated by humans.
because huskies were here first.
Of course, if you admit that huskies were here first, then you had to admit to all of your thievery,
Ah,
humans.
I gotcha. I gotcha. So how it goes is this, and I know this because we've talked about this, but Husko created the universe, and then he
Yes,
created Huskies first, and then he
correct.
created everybody else. Right.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I've got it. And one more for you, Millicent. This is
Mm-hmm.
from Jason, Opinionville, who says, "What breed of husky are you? Siberian, Labrador, Sakhalin, Mackenzie River, Alaskan? Are all breeds equal in the eyes of Husko, Millicent?"
I'm a Siberian husky.
Yes.
We were
Okay.
first. That's all I'll say.
Okay. There's even factionalism within huskies. Victoria Varjak also says happy birthday. So happy birthday from Varjak as well. Andrew Michael says, my 2-year-old daughter calls you the lovely swearing man. Any objections to this moniker? None at all. I am very happy. I take lovely as a compliment, and I take swearing as a statement of fact. So no objection to that whatsoever. Hey, people, it's Matt. This is a question for Jack. And since we're over the time that I usually go for these, I will go ahead and call this the last question. And the last question will go to you, Jack. And it is this. What are Jack's thoughts on Teddy Roosevelt? He's the one who said, walk softly and carry a big stick, right? Yeah. Teddy Roosevelt said, walk softly and carry a big stick. Well, he was half right. Okay. Thank you, Jack. Which half? Just for clarification. Well, sure as hell is it the big stick half. What do you think? Have you no sense of subtlety or poetry? What do you think? You have to spell everything out for people, don't you? Yes, for the love of God, the big stick part. Okay, sorry. So I'm going to close up the live chat here. Thank you to everybody for the questions. This was a lot of fun. I want to remind everybody of the charity links down below. If you have anything to spare to help some of our friends out who are in need, please consider donating to the charity links below in the description of the video. And if you can't afford to donate, then please share them around. Also, if you enjoy the work I do here, you can support me and this channel through Patreon by going to patreon.com/Steve Shives. One of the perks of being a patron at any level is you can submit questions for Ask Away ahead of time, and I will answer all the patron questions first. And also, let's not forget that in addition to the YouTube thing, I co-host a couple of podcasts, and the guy who actually does most of the work on our podcasts has been with us in the live chat, Opinionville, aka the great Jason Harding. Jason and I co-host 2 podcasts as a part of his Let Me Listen podcast family. Late Seating, the movie review podcast, where we give a fresh look to classic films and decide whether or not they deserve whatever the popular opinion of them is. And then also The Ensign's Log, which is the Star Trek themed comedy podcast. It has a new episode up this very day. So if you like my Star Trek stuff and you don't listen to The Ensign's Log, check out The Ensign's Log. I think you'll really enjoy it. And that's it. Thank you all so much for joining me. This was really special. This was the 50th episode of Ask Away. That's why I invited all of the Steve and Stuffy cast to join me. So next time, it'll just be me again. So I hope that'll be okay. But I just want to go around one last time and thank everybody for joining me. And they can say goodnight or whatever they want to say. So Stuffy, thank you so much for joining us. And you want to say goodnight to the folks? Absolutely. I hope my answers were acceptable. And thanks to everybody who had things to ask me. And I'm glad that everybody watched. So have a good night and a good weekend and happy holidays. All right, cool. Toby Benson? Yeah, thanks for watching, baby. Thanks for the questions and shit. I'll see you later. Okay, Jack. Oh, I thank you so very much for watching. This was such a lovely time, and I'm so glad that I was here to answer all your incredibly intelligent and insightful questions. All right, Millicent, anything? Any final words?
Well, I suppose it wasn't a total waste of my time. So, good night.
All right, good night, Millicent. Squirrel, any parting thoughts?
Oh, not really. I need to go to the fridge to get more blueberries.
Yeah.
I ate all of mine.
Oh wow. Okay, I guess going being a rabbit, you're a very quiet eater.
Yes.
Yeah, you've just been munching along there.
I've just been nibbling.
Yeah. Wilhelmina, any final thoughts before we go?
No, just happy to be here, I guess.
We'll all meet. We're gonna meet after this for a drink at Pete's. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, sure. Come on down.
All right, cool. Prospector, any last words? Oh, I don't like the way you said that. Okay, not like last word. Any last words for the show? Well, just goodbye and thanks for watching. Okay, okay. And Hans, any parting thoughts? I'll say that. You can say last words. I am not afraid. Okay. Any last words from you? Yeah. Enjoy your lives while you can, all of you. Treasure the good times, and also treasure the tragedy. Okay. Good. Thanks, Hans. Always delightful to have you. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks especially to the Stephen Stuffy gang for joining me. Until next time, have a good weekend, everybody, and we'll see you for the next episode. This is Lovely Swearing Man signing off. Bye, everybody.